At our neighbor's backyard barbecue, my wife clinked her glass, smiled sweetly, and announced, loud enough for everyone to hear, that she and I were taking a break from commitment. People laughed. Someone even whistled. They expected me to crumble, to beg, to look weak. Instead, I stood up, wiped my hands on a napkin, and calmly said, "Great. Then I suppose Emily won't mind if I have dinner with Jenna tomorrow." The entire patio froze. Jenna, her closest friend, slowly lifted her head, a slow, dangerous smile stretching across her lips. You should have seen my wife's face. Before I continue, subscribe, drop a like, and comment part 2 if you want this story to keep going. Now let's begin. It was a warm Saturday evening in early June. Mark and Lisa, our neighbors who threw cookouts every month, had strung lights across the yard. Country rock played from a tiny speaker near the grill. People were scattered across the lawn, laughing, balancing paper plates loaded with ribs and potato salad. I stood near the drink cooler, holding a glass of iced tea, listening to Mark ramble about fishing season. He always talked too loud, but I didn't mind. Noise was better than silence, especially the silence I'd been living in with my wife, Emily. We'd been married 8 years. Somewhere around year 6, she got restless, started craving more excitement, began traveling with her coworkers, hanging out late, posting pictures as if she were single. But every time I asked what was going on, she'd roll her eyes and say, "Caleb, stop being so dramatic. We're married, not jailed." I stopped asking. That night, she was dressed to be noticed, red dress, curled hair, that bright lipstick that always attracted attention. She drifted between groups like she was auditioning for applause. I watched her laugh too loudly at every joke made by a guy named Austin, a fitness trainer who never saw a mirror he didn't flirt with. But instead of confronting her, I stayed quiet, observing, thinking. Something in me had been shifting for months. Then came the moment. Emily tapped her glass with a fork. The clinking cut through the music. Conversations died down. People turned. She flashed her brightest stage smile. "I just want everyone to know," she announced. "Caleb and I agreed to try a less traditional marriage. A flexible one." Several people chuckled. One guy whispered, "Dude, nice," and slapped my shoulder. My face was burning, but not from shame. Emily looked at me like a matador waiting for the bull to charge, hoping I'd freak out, argue, maybe beg. She wanted an audience for my humiliation. She continued, "We're choosing personal freedom. No jealousy." Someone raised a beer and toasted. Austin grinned like he'd just won a raffle. Emily's eyes gleamed, expecting me to stutter, to look small. But instead of reacting, I looked to the patio table beside me. Jenna was sitting there, quiet, composed, sipping lemonade through a straw. Jenna was Emily's closest friend. Tall, confident, sharp as broken glass. Unlike my wife, Jenna didn't chase attention. Attention found her. Our eyes met. For a split second, she studied me. Then she nodded, almost imperceptibly, as if she'd been waiting. I stood, adjusting my shirt. No yelling, no emotion, just clarity. "Great," I said. "Then I suppose Emily won't mind if I have dinner with Jenna tomorrow." Someone gasped. Austin froze mid-chew. Mark muttered, "Oh boy." Jenna's lips curved. "Slow. Lethal. Tomorrow works," she said. Not a second of hesitation. Emily's smile shattered. "Caleb, what the hell? That's not what I meant." I cut her off. "You announced it publicly. I'm simply accepting the rules." She blinked fast, color draining from her cheeks. "Jenna, you're not serious." Jenna tilted her head, eyes sharp. "If Caleb wants dinner, he'll get dinner." For the first time all night, Emily wasn't performing. She was scrambling. The crowd shifted, uncomfortable now. A couple looked away. Someone muttered, "This just got awkward." Emily's voice pitched high. "Caleb, can we talk? Privately." I didn't move. "We can talk," I said. But nothing about this was private. She looked around, desperate for backup, but no one volunteered. People weren't cheering for her anymore. They were watching her fall apart. The moment she pulled me away from the crowd, her fingers digging into my wrist, the music and chatter behind us faded. We were still in Mark and Lisa's backyard, but for the first time in a long time, Emily didn't care about being watched. She dragged me toward the side gate, away from the patio lights and the curious stares. As soon as we were out of view, she spun around, arms crossed, voice sharp and shaky at the same time. What the hell was that? I looked at her calmly. You made an announcement. I simply took you seriously. She blinked, stunned that I didn't raise my voice, didn't panic. Emily thrived on chaos. I took it away from her. You embarrassed me, she hissed. The irony almost made me laugh. You announced our marriage was non-traditional in front of half the neighborhood. Everyone practically cheered for you. Her eyes flashed. That was supposed to be playful. Fun. And you blindsided me. You wanted attention. You got it. She paced in a tight circle, muttering under her breath. I could feel the anger radiating off her, mixing with something else. Fear. She finally stopped, facing me. Jenna? Really? You had to pick her? I shrugged. She was sitting closest. You're unbelievable. You wanted freedom, Emily. You got it. She stared at me for several seconds, breathing like she was steadying herself. Then her tone shifted. Softer. Manipulative. Look, maybe I didn't phrase it right. Maybe it came out wrong. I walked toward the patio, ready to rejoin the others. Let's enjoy the night. We can talk at home. She grabbed my arm again. Caleb, stop. Are you actually planning to go out with Jenna? Yes. She was not expecting a direct answer. Her mouth fell open and closed again, like she was searching for the right performance. You don't even like dating, she said, voice full of false confidence. You're predictable, responsible, safe. It was meant as an insult, but it hit differently. I used to accept those labels. I don't mind being steady, I said. I mind being taken for granted. She backed up a step, eyes narrowing. You think this makes you look strong? It makes you look pathetic. She wanted me to react emotionally. I didn't. I walked back toward the patio and rejoined the group. The party was quieter now, everyone pretending to be focused on their food. Lisa hovered by the drink table, trying to look casual but clearly listening. Jenna sat exactly where she'd been before, swirling the ice in her lemonade. When she looked up at me, it wasn't flirtation. It was calculation. Emily stormed back and behind me, her attitude shifting instantly the moment she crossed into a public space. She plastered on that bright, social smile again. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption. She tried to laugh it off. You know how married couples are. The forced cheer in her voice made several people look at their plates. No one laughed. I sat down in the open seat next to Jenna. She leaned slightly closer, her voice low. Bold, move back there. I didn't respond immediately. Bold wasn't what I felt. I felt done. Jenna tapped her fingernail against her glass. You sure you know what you're doing? Yes. Her gaze lingered on me for a second longer, curious, like she was reassessing the man she thought she knew. Later, when dessert came out, Emily tried to steer the conversation toward harmless topics. Vacations, recipes, work. She talked loudly to drown the awkward tension. I didn't engage. I watched. I listened. At one point, Austin swaggered over to her with 2 beers and said something I couldn't hear. Whatever it was, her laugh was too enthusiastic. Jenna noticed it too. She leaned back in her chair and murmured, "She really thought you'd crumble." I sipped my drink. Not anymore. People began leaving. Hugs, goodbyes, promises of getting together soon. Emily hovered near me, staying close like she was guarding territory. When we finally walked to the car, she waited until we were inside with the doors shut before speaking. Her whisper was tight, like she was holding back an explosion. You're not going on that date. Yes, I am. Caleb, you can't do this to me. She clenched the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. I didn't do anything to you. You set the rules. She stared straight ahead, jaw grinding. You think Jenna actually cares about you? She's doing this to hurt me. Maybe. Doesn't matter. Emily's voice cracked. I can't believe you would humiliate me. The lights from the street reflected across her face, and I realized something. She wasn't upset because I might date Jenna. She was upset because she lost control of the narrative. She had opened a door. She never expected me to walk through it. I unbuckled my seatbelt. I'm done being the steady background character in your show. She didn't speak the rest of the drive. When we got home, she slammed the bedroom door and locked it from the inside. I slept on the couch and stared at the ceiling for hours, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel trapped. I felt awake. The next morning, sunlight was pouring across the living room rug when I woke up. My neck hurt from the couch, but I didn't regret choosing it. The silence in the house felt strange, thick, and waiting. I brewed coffee and sat at the kitchen island, scrolling through my phone, pretending not to listen for her footsteps. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Finally, I heard the bedroom door open. Emily appeared in the hallway wearing her robe, eyes puffy from crying, hair messy. She looked fragile, something she rarely allowed herself to be. She stopped when she saw me. "We need to talk," she whispered. I didn't look up. "Morning." She moved closer, hands wrapped around herself. "Caleb, please. Last night got out of hand. It was a joke." I chuckled. "A joke? Telling people our marriage is non-traditional isn't a prank. It's a statement." Her voice trembled. I was nervous. I thought, if I looked confident. "I don't know." She couldn't finish the sentence. We stood facing each other, the quiet stretching between us. Finally, she took a deep breath. "Fine. Have your little date with Jenna. I know you're just trying to prove something." She said the words like she believed she still had control. I rinsed my mug, grabbed my keys, and headed toward the door. "Where are you going?" "Gym. And after that?" "I don't know. Living." I didn't wait for a response. On the drive, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A message popped up. "This is Jenna. Are you still on for dinner tonight?" The text hit me harder than I expected. She wasn't playing. She wasn't bluffing. "Yes," I typed. 7 p.m. "I'll pick you up." Her reply came instantly. "Good. I like a man who follows through." At the gym, I pushed myself harder than I had in years. When I got home, Emily was sitting at the dining room table, scrolling on her laptop. She didn't look at me. Instead, she spoke like she'd been rehearsing the line. "I made reservations for us. For dinner. Tonight." I froze. "What?" "I thought we could talk. Just the two of us." I exhaled slowly. "I already have plans tonight." Her head snapped up. "You're actually going? With Jenna?" "Yes." Her voice rose, sharp and panicked. "So that's it. You throw away 8 years of marriage because I made one stupid comment?" My jaw tightened. It's not one comment. It's months, years of disrespect. She opened her mouth to argue, but then she stopped. Something flickered across her face. Something ugly and insecure. She stormed past me into the bedroom. I heard drawers slamming, hangers clattering. When she finally emerged, she was dressed like she was going clubbing. Tight dress, high heels, lipstick that announced she wanted attention. She marched toward the door. "If you're going out, then so am I." Her chin lifted, daring me to react. "Have fun," I said calmly. She faltered. "You don't care?" I shrugged. "You created the rule. I'm just finally living by it." She stared at me with something like disbelief, maybe fear, and then she left. The door slammed, rattling the picture frames on the wall. I stood in the quiet house breathing steadily, letting the sound echo until it disappeared. At 6:45, I changed into a clean button-down and jeans, nothing dramatic. When I stepped outside, the air was warm, the sky streaked with orange. I drove across town to Jenna's neighborhood, palms steady on the wheel. When she opened her apartment door, she wasn't dressed like she wanted male attention. She was dressed like she wanted self-respect. Simple black blouse, dark jeans, minimal makeup. She looked normal, real. She smiled when she saw me. "You're early." "Habit," I said. "I don't like keeping people waiting." She locked the door behind her and followed me to the car. The drive was easy, conversation flowing without effort. No sarcasm, no power games. She asked me about my job. I asked her about hers. I learned more about Jenna in 10 minutes than Emily had bothered to share with me in months. At the restaurant, small Italian place, quiet lighting, real candles, something inside me loosened. Jenna ordered wine. I ordered water and laughed. I have to drive. Responsibility looks good on you, she said. Her voice wasn't flirting. It was sincere. We talked through appetizers, through pasta, through dessert. No heavy questions. No drama. When dinner slowed, Jenna rested her elbows on the table and studied me. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why now? You've been putting up with her behavior for years. Why did last night push you over the edge? I didn't want to answer. I didn't want to say the words out loud. But I did. Because last night wasn't about an open marriage. It was about her seeing if she could humiliate me and get away with it. Jenna nodded slowly. So your silence scared her. I leaned back. Silence was all I had left. She took a sip of wine. You did the right thing. I wasn't sure. And then she said something that hit me like a punch. Caleb, she doesn't want freedom. She wants control. And now you're not giving her either. The rest of the night flew by. When I drove her home, she didn't linger or drag the moment out. Thanks for tonight, she said. I had fun. Me too. She opened the car door, paused, then leaned down to my window. And Caleb, don't let her guilt you back into the cage. You're stronger than that. She walked inside and closed the lobby door behind her. I sat in the car for a long time, engine off, hands on the wheel. I felt clear, not angry, not vengeful, just clear. When I finally drove home, Emily's car was already in the driveway. The house was dark except for the living room lamp. She was sitting on the couch, mascara smudged, arms wrapped around a pillow. You really went, she whispered. I didn't answer. She swallowed hard. Did you have fun? I hung my keys on the hook. Yes. Her lip trembled. With Jenna? Yes. She stared at me like I'd betrayed every unwritten rule of her universe. The rule that she embarrasses me, and I forgive her. The rule that she pushes, and I never push back. Those rules were dead now. She stood as if pulled upward by invisible strings, slowly, stiffly. Her voice was low, almost unfamiliar. So what happens now? I walked past her toward the kitchen, loosened my collar, set my phone on the counter. Nothing happens now. I went to dinner. It's over. She followed me, steps quick, almost frantic. Over? You think you just get to go live some bachelor fantasy while we pretend none of this happened? I turned. I never pretended anything. You did. Her eyes were red, cheeks blotchy. She wasn't performing now. She was unraveling. Caleb, I messed up. Okay. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just feeling neglected. Neglected? I repeated. I was home. Every night. Asking you to spend time with me. Asking what you needed. You pushed me away. She shook her head. No, you don't get it. You stopped trying. You got comfortable. Predictable. I wanted passion. Excitement. I stared at her. And humiliating me was exciting? She flinched, looking down at her hands. I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to feel something again. Something other than boredom. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Then you should have talked to me. Not announced to 30 people that our marriage was now a public playground. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up, eyes shining. Cancel it. Cancel whatever you think this is with Jenna. We can fix us. There was a time when that sentence would have broken me. Now it felt like someone tapping on a locked door from the wrong side. It's not about Jenna. It's about you finally realizing I'm not someone you control. She stepped closer. I don't want an open marriage. I don't want freedom. I want you. The truth tasted bitter. You want the version of me that begs for you. She stared like I'd slapped her. That's not true, isn't it? If I had gotten jealous last night, yelled, caused a scene, would that have satisfied you? Would that be proof that you still mattered? She didn't answer. Her silence was enough. I moved toward the hallway. I'm going to bed. We can talk tomorrow. She grabbed my arm. Don't walk away from me. I turned slowly. Emily, that's the problem. You think everything's about power. Winning. Losing. She tried to steady her voice. I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to save us. No. You're trying not to lose me. She released my arm. I walked to the bedroom and shut the door. I didn't lock it. I just needed distance. Space. Breathing room. The next morning, I woke to the smell of pancakes and bacon, her peace offering. I sat at the table without looking at her. We ate in silence. Then she exhaled sharply. Fine. If you're going to be stubborn, then I'm setting boundaries. Boundaries? Yes. If we're open, then we need rules. No dating friends. No dating coworkers. No sleepovers. No emotions. She opened her laptop and pushed it toward me. She'd written a list. I stared at it, then laughed. Now you want rules. She snapped. This isn't funny. If you insist on this freedom, then there have to be limits. I leaned forward. You announced we were open, not me. And the moment you lost control of your own decision, suddenly you're drowning in boundaries. She closed the laptop, frustrated. Caleb, please. I know I pushed you too far. I know I crossed a line. Let's just go back. Pretend the party never happened. I stood. I can't unhear what you said. I can't unknow what you wanted. She swallowed. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back hard, refusing to let them fall. That night, she paced the house while I watched TV. She kept shooting glances at my phone on the coffee table, like she expected Jenna to text any second. When the phone buzzed, Emily nearly jumped. I grabbed it before she could. It was a text from Mark, our neighbor. Dude, she was flirting with Austin last night for hours. Just thought you should know. I didn't respond. I set the phone down. Emily hovered. Who was that? Mark. Her voice tightened. What did he say? I didn't answer her. I didn't know her explanations anymore. She stormed off to the bedroom and slammed the door. I sat back and listened to the quiet. 2 days passed. She shifted between sweet gestures and cold anger. One morning she climbed into bed beside me before I was awake, curled up against my back like old times. I don't want anyone else, she whispered. I didn't respond. The next evening, she threw my gym shoes across the room and shouted that I was ruining everything. I still didn't respond. Silence was my armor, and she hated it. On the third day, she tried a different tactic, seduction. She dressed up, made dinner, lit candles. She placed a hand on my chest. We can start fresh. Let me show you how good things can be. I gently took her hand and lowered it. We can't fix what you broke with candles and lipstick. That night, I slept on the couch again. In the morning, while making coffee, I saw her pacing, phone pressed to her ear. Her voice was shaky. I don't know what to do. He's not reacting. He's different. Her breathing grew uneven. No, I don't think he's bluffing. I think I pushed him too far. She hung up and turned. She didn't know I was standing there. Her voice trembled. Caleb, can we please? I raised a hand. Save it. I grabbed my keys and headed out. For the first time in years, the silence in my chest wasn't numb. It was steady, solid. She finally understood she couldn't control me anymore. But she had no idea what that realization would cost her next. I didn't go back home until late evening. I needed space. I needed clarity. By the time I walked through the front door, the house felt different. The lights were on, the dining table cleared, and Emily was sitting at the head of it with documents spread out in front of her. She looked up at me with an expression I had never seen, fear mixed with desperation. Sit, she said. I stayed standing. What is all this? She pushed papers toward me. If we're doing this, if we're really being open, we need structure, rules, guidelines. We can meet in therapy, learn to communicate. It sounded rehearsed, artificial. I glanced down at the papers, agreements, bullet points, highlighted sections. She had printed articles about alternative marriages, open relationships, boundaries. Emily was treating our marriage like a group project she could control if she organized it well enough. I shook my head slowly. We don't need structure. We need honesty. I met with a lawyer. The words hit her like a physical slap. She stared at me, frozen. You what? Yesterday. Her voice cracked. Caleb, tell me you're joking. I'm not. I walked around the table and sat across from her. She looked like she was trying to remember how to breathe. So that's it. One mistake and you just throw everything away? You didn't make one mistake. You made hundreds. Little cuts, one after another, until I stopped feeling anything at all. She gripped the edges of the table. I can change. I'll go to counseling. I'll quit going out with coworkers. I'll stop talking to Austin. You'll keep making promises you don't understand. She swallowed. Her voice was barely a whisper. What about your date? With Jenna? I leaned back. Jenna and I had dinner. We talked. That's it. She closed her eyes like that somehow made it better. Did you do anything? No. But here's the part you're not ready to hear. I realized something that night. I don't have to stay with someone who treats me like an accessory. Emily's voice broke. So you're leaving me for her? No. I'm leaving because I finally remembered I'm allowed to choose myself. She pressed both hands to her face, trembling. I don't want a divorce. I sat forward. Then why announce an open marriage in front of a crowd? Why tell the world you were freeing yourself from commitment? She didn't answer. She couldn't. I stood. I'm moving out. Today. Her head snapped up. Caleb, no. We can talk about this. We can work on this. We can fix. I raised a hand. Stop. She followed me as I went to the bedroom and grabbed a suitcase. She watched as I packed shirts, jeans, socks, my shaving kit. Every zipper sounded like a gunshot. At one point, she tried to take a shirt from my hands. Don't leave, please. I kept packing. When I closed the suitcase and zipped it, she stepped in front of the door like a barricade. You can't do this. I met her eyes. You did this. She moved aside. I carried the suitcase to the door. Before I stepped out, she whispered, barely audible, Do you hate me? I paused. No, I don't hate you. I'm just done. The door clicked shut behind me. A few days later, at the attorney's office, we signed the temporary separation documents. She cried through the entire appointment. I didn't. The process went faster than either of us expected. No kids. Separate accounts. No shared property that mattered. It was strangely simple. The hardest part wasn't the paperwork. It was realizing how little we actually built together. Weeks passed. She tried everything: guilt, nostalgia, apologies, anger. At one point, she texted that she hoped Jenna was worth ruining our marriage. I didn't bother to reply. One afternoon, Jenna and I met for coffee. She leaned back in her chair, watching me with a calm expression. You look lighter, she said. I feel lighter. Good. Don't let her pull you back in. And don't let me be an excuse. This isn't about me. I nodded. I know. We talked for an hour. When we stood to leave, she touched my arm briefly, not possessive, just supportive. I'm proud of you. You finally chose yourself. The divorce was finalized a month later. No shouting. No dramatic courtroom scene. Just signatures. Done. Finished. When I walked out of the courthouse, I sat in my car for a long time, engine off, watching people pass by on the sidewalk. I expected to feel grief or relief. Instead, I felt something else. Quiet. Space. Possibility. A new beginning. 6 months later, I ran into Mark at the hardware store. He grinned when he saw me. Dude, you look like someone who sleeps 8 hours a night and eats breakfast on purpose. I laughed. Something like that. Haven't seen Emily around, he said. She moved to Seattle. Fresh start. I nodded. I hope she finds what she's looking for. I meant it. I really did. That evening, I met up with Jenna for pizza. We caught up like friends do. No expectations, no pressure, no hint of anything more. She wiped her hands on a napkin and pointed at me with a slice. You know, people say choosing yourself is selfish. I shook my head. No, staying where you're disrespected is selfish. Choosing yourself is survival. We clinked our soda glasses like a quiet celebration. Later that night, driving home with the windows down and music low, I realized something. The night she announced her freedom at that party, she expected me to break. She expected me to fight for her attention, beg, shrink. Instead, I stood up. I chose myself. And that choice changed everything. The open marriage she declared to embarrass me ended up being the door I needed to walk away. My silence wasn't weakness. It was power. If you're watching this and you feel small, remember, Sometimes walking away is the loudest thing you'll ever do. Thanks for listening to my story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. It helps more than you know.